So in today's video, I'm going to be interviewing a young man named Tyler that owns his own moving company, and he's just getting started on his entrepreneurial journey, but he's already doing a great job. He's moved several of our clients and they became raving fans of his. So if you want to learn everything about moving across the country or moving locally, things to watch out for, anything related to moving, or you just want to hear Tyler's story, then stay tuned because we are getting after it right now. Do you want to know everything there is to know about the South Carolina Lowcountry? Whether it's Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, or Jasper County, then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know every time I drop a new video. My name is David Simcox, host of this channel and a local real estate agent. I get calls and emails every day from people just like you looking to move here, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 3 days, 3 months, or even 3 years, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can always book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. Now, let's jump right back into the video. So Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on camera with me, and hopefully this will be interesting to you at home. Tyler, why don't you just tell us, what is the name of your moving company?
So my name's Tyler Rice. My moving company is called TR Moving. You know, it's just simply my initials. Also, we have some acronyms: trusted, reliable. Any good words that go with T and R, you can relate them to us.
Totally rad.
Yeah, there you go right there.
And you actually moved several of our clients for us, and they were very happy with you. And so that's why I brought you on here to talk to these folks, because I have people all the time that are asking me if I can refer a moving company. And I don't refer anybody unless they've actually worked with my clients and had a good experience. And we spent some time talking the other day, and I just felt like your vision for your moving company aligns with kind of the way that we treat our customers as well, sort of that concierge level service, that white glove service. For somebody that's moving to the Lowcountry, maybe they're moving from New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, maybe they're moving from somewhere here within South Carolina, what should they know about before choosing a moving company?
Well, it really just depends on what they're looking for, you know. If you're moving somewhere and you're younger, you know, it could be my age, you're 23, 24, you might be looking for, you know, price efficiency. If you're older in life, more established, and you've got some things that you care about, if you have some higher quality items, you might want to ask about, you know, how do you move items like this or that, or how do you charge? Because, you know, you could have somebody charge all together and then they move extremely fast, and that could be good. Or you could have someone charge by the hour and they move really slow. So it's just a lot of different things. Every job in moving is very different. They're extremely meticulous and a lot of different variables. So it's really just about building an honest relationship, because as a mover and as a client, there's really no getting over on each other because we're both taking care of each other. So you just got to do your due diligence, have a conversation, and make sure that you feel comfortable with the people that you're going with.
Okay, so if somebody goes to Google and they type in moving companies for the South Carolina Lowcountry, or, you know, something like that, they're going to get a laundry list of like 100 different moving companies. How is your company different? And I know the answer because I've talked to you, and that's why I had you on here, is because I think you are different and special and raising the bar for moving companies. But why don't you tell the person watching what makes you guys different?
I just think it's the standard that we hold ourselves to. I mean, it being my name, TR, I hold myself to that highest standard in that regard. And, you know, I'm not out here doing this for money. You know, I believe that if you have a good work ethic and you have good principles and you're a good person, then, you know, success will come later on. So I just graduated from college, so this is just really just piqued my interest in having the opportunity to build a company from the ground up and then do it the right way in my hometown. And so I believe that that's what makes me different, because as much as I want to do a good job for my client, I want to do a good job for myself because it means that much to me. And for me, this isn't about money. You know, I'm blessed to have the opportunity to still be supported by my family as they encourage me in my pursuit of my business goals. So it's more so just about the hard work. You know, you can't get anything in life without hard work. To get to it, you got to go through it. So all those cliches about, you know, hard work and being a good person, that's how I live my life and how I run my company.
Okay, I think you're off to a good start, and you're starting that entrepreneurial journey. And I think you're actually starting with a really big vision and really good intentions, and I really respect that. So walk me through what a move actually looks like from start to finish.
Start to finish, customer inquires about us. We get a quote on schedule. Go in, we'll look at it. Quote's fairly simple. It just figures out what looks a little bit different from the normal job that could, dictate a different price for this or that. Or do they have any special requests? Or are they going to handle the packing? Do they want us to handle the packing? Every job is very different. So, you've got to be really intentional when you're having these conversations. And then, once you get all those questions that may vary for this individual job, you just go ahead and get it down on the schedule, and then you just roll in. We pack everything up, take care of everything, and then just go to the next location and then unpack. It's fairly simple. It's more so the work's done on the front end with the quote, making sure that, we want this wrapped, or we want everything wrapped. Or if you ask them, they say, hey, no, it's okay, because sometimes they don't want you to spend that extra 2 hours, taking that extra precaution for that, because they're being more money conscious. So it's just really seeing how they feel about the move when you go and give the quote. And then move day is pretty simple. Just take care of the items, work diligently, but work at a safe pace, and then load up, make sure everything's secured on the trucks, go to the end point, and then it's the same process, just in reverse.
Okay. So if I heard you correctly, what kind of sets you apart is you're a good listener. I mean, listening to the client, listening to what's important to them, and then focusing on that.
Yeah, I was a communications major. I started off as business, and then I went comms before my junior year. And that's been a saving grace in this. So I would like to say that I'm a pretty good communicator, and I listen fairly well.
Okay. So when somebody's going through the moving process, what are some of the most painful moments or the biggest challenges for them as a consumer? If they're watching this, where do they see the most level of frustration?
I would just say in control. This is their things, and this is a very emotional event for anyone, because this is their home. You're taking care of their home, and they want to have complete control, but you have to relinquish a certain level of control for us to get the job done efficiently, or you'll just end up spending more money. If we're moving grandma's clock from 100 years ago, and you're hesitant, we get it, we understand it, but you've got to know that you hired us to come and do a job, and that we will do that, and we will take the necessary precautions to get that done correctly.
Yeah, and you might have answered this question, but what do you do to sort of relieve that stress and put their mind at ease?
I just show them how much I care. We'll take it slow for the first, few items, first few times they seem iffy. You can watch us do it. We can tell you the extent that we're going to go to take care of it. You can help us take care of it the first few times, but just build that trust and build that control for them to see that, we're not out here like trying to get over on you. We're trying to take care of you as much as we can. And so, I've had customers where they see that in the beginning. I've had customers where we get to the end and never really fully got it, but my biggest thing is I'm just trying to relate trust. Like, I just want you to feel that you can trust us.
Okay. And that might answer this question, because I kind of heard what you were saying there. What does high-level customer service mean to you as a business owner?
For me, it just means that, when we part ways and when my service is done to you, that, we feel like we've developed an actual personable relationship. I've had a lot of clients that I go back over to other homes and have dinner with, and built a lot of relationships. And, I've ended up being friends with people's sons and grandsons and granddaughters. So, to me, this is my life. It's my job, but it's my life. I run my life through my company, and, we're one. So I'm always looking to build a personal relationship in everything that I do. And if high customer service looks like that to me, it would be building a personal relationship at the end of a job.
I think that's incredible, because there are, like as a real estate agent, a lot of times people invite me over for dinner after they've decorated the house and they furnished it, and they want me to see what the finished product looks like. And in all the years that I've been doing this, I don't think I've ever heard of a customer inviting the moving company over for dinner. So I think that just speaks to your character and your level of service and your professionalism. I know you mentioned the level of service you provide, the actual care that you take of their items. You mentioned a little bit about pricing. So of all the things that you provide to people that are moving, what do you think they value the most?
I would definitely say customer service, because customer service can just extend past the conversation. It just goes to making sense of a situation as well. I've had times where I do a job and, it takes a lot shorter time and the price that was given doesn't reflect the work that was put in, and I'm aware of that. Never trying to cheat anyone. I've had jobs where, the price ends up being a lot lower. That's because it just reflects the work, and it's ended up being higher too because it reflects the work. So my biggest thing is I'm always just trying to make sure that it reflects the work. I've had times where we'll just stop in the middle of a job, sit down and have a conversation and, come to agree to disagree sometimes, but this is what it is. And I gave you these prices. So I would say it's just that. It's just the transparency of what you're getting. And we're not out here trying to get over on you, and you're going to get our best effort every single time.
Yeah, I think that in any industry or any business, just honesty and transparency is the best thing. I mean, I have the same situation sometimes where selling real estate and then we uncover something unfavorable. We find out that there's termite damage or there's a roof leak or there's something going on. And really, I think people just appreciate just telling them the truth. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to sugarcoat it. It is what it is. And everyone's an adult. And if you just tell it exactly like it is, that's usually, that's the best policy. All right. So let's just talk about you for a minute, because I'm really enjoying learning about and seeing your entrepreneurial journey. And not too long ago, you were a college student, but tell me, who were you before you started this company? What's your background, your family's background? Because I think you said you kind of came from an entrepreneurial family, and maybe that also sparked things. But tell me, who were you before you were the owner of this moving company?
So I started this my sophomore year in college. Before that, I played basketball in college, and I played basketball for another year before I launched it full time. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I was just a kid. I was 19, 20 years old, and not living aimlessly, but definitely not with the sense of purpose and direction that I have right now. Basketball was my only purpose and direction. My father's a serial entrepreneur. I'd like to say started a lot of businesses. Some failed, but you only need one win to cover all those losses. My whole family's from here. My mom's side of the family's from Beaufort, and my dad's family's from Bluffton, Buck Island area. And yeah, I mean, I grew up, I went to Cross schools. I went there for 10 years. Then I went to Hilton Head Prep for another 3 years, graduated from Bluffton High in 2020. But I mean, this business allowed me to elevate myself within the community. In my mind, a person of interest, because before I wouldn't say that I didn't have anything that I was doing outstanding, but I didn't have an outlet to be able to have a voice for myself. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't really too much to me before. I just went to practice and went to the weight room, and then things happened. I had an opportunity to start this. My dad supported me. And then along the way, I meet people like you, who give me words of wisdom and point me in different directions that leads me here, which is another thing that I've always harped on. Is that's the reason I'm so big in customer service, because I wouldn't be who I am right now without all the people that I have helped who then poured back into me. But
all right, so what made you decide you wanted to create a different type of moving company? There's a million moving companies out there, but you had this light bulb go off in your head and said, okay, I want to start a moving company, but I want to do it differently. What caused that to happen?
I would say it was this year, early in February. I was having a great year monetarily wise. We were succeeding, but I was super stressed. I was super stressed, and I was taking on more than I could handle, stretching myself very thin. And I just realized that if what I was working for was money, then I would never truly be fulfilled, and that I had to, lead with my heart and lead with love and try to affect and influence the community in a positive way. And so that made me just take a step back and really think about what I wanted to do with business, because if it was making money, then we've seen how this made us feel, and I didn't want to go that route. So I would say that God blessing me to see that I want to go a different route with how I lead my business is what really, touched my heart to say, hey, I want to be a good person through this.
I think if you're always chasing money, it's a never-ending hamster wheel that you're always going to be running on. But when you're living on purpose and you're following a mission, that's something where the work itself is the reward. It's not the money at the end. It's the experience is the reward. So starting this off, and you're pretty new. I mean, honestly, as you're starting your journey, what have been some of the biggest challenges just as a business person in general?
I would probably say being new, but then on top of being new, being young. Having to prove that I can do something to, seasoned people within the area, or, clients that I go into their house and we get to talking and they figure out, my age or this or that. And, I'm completely fine with that because, that just means I've just got to go the extra mile to work harder. And, that's a great challenge for right now because, God willing, in 15, 20 years, that's not a challenge that we have to overcome. And it's just made me be a lot more self-aware of myself and how I can get better in a lot of different areas to overcome any doubts that there might be had about me or my company, since we are so new and young.
Okay. And I can appreciate that because I think a lot of people and a lot of our clients especially are moving to Sun City, or they're moving to the private gated golf clubs, or they look at a young person and they immediately put their guard up until they have a chance to talk to you and realize that this guy's really sharp. And I think even like Mackenzie, who works on our team, she's a young lady, but she is literally a force to be reckoned with. And she's so smart and so talented and such a fast learner. And within like her first year of real estate, she knows more and performs at a higher level than 90% of the people in this industry that have been doing it for 20 years. So really, it's not about age, it's about capability, it's about passion, it's about integrity, and you've got all that. And I've already seen the fact that you've worked with our customers. That to me was a case study to say, hey, this guy, he's got it going on. It's not just talk, like he really gets it done. Do you ever worry that maybe people aren't going to value the level of service that you provide? Like they'll be like, I just want my stuff moved and I want it as cheap as possible. I mean, are there people that maybe you're not the right moving company for? Like, hey, we offer this high level of service. Maybe it's not for everybody. Or do you worry about like people don't value that at all?
No, I can't worry about it because I know where that extra mile will come into play is for the ones that, really do value it. And, that'll build up within itself a real community around that. And, like-minded people, will gravitate towards each other. And at the end of the day, we are still a moving company. So if you tell me, hey, man, I don't really want to talk, I'd rather you just move this stuff, that's fine too. I'm just trying to help the customer as much as I possibly can. If you want it to be extremely personable and fun and have fun and talk afterwards and talk before, we can do that too. I'm all here for it. I don't really think that there's somebody that I can't service or can't be the right moving company for because, like I said, I'm here for the customer. So. Okay. If it's a guy that I've had that happen before and I don't feel any hard feelings about it, because like I said, I'm a mover, so, I'm coming to do my job, but just know that within this experience, there can be a lot more for everybody to experience.
If you've had this moment, I'd love you to share it. And if you haven't, that's okay too. But have you had a moment where you're like, yes, I have made the right decision. This is working. This is going to work. This is going to be huge. Something that affirms your decision.
Definitely. This summer, after just starting, had 3 crews out on 5 different jobs around the county. I had like 19 employees working at one given time in the week. And I mean, that just told me right there, it's like, it's like I don't have much hair, but if I could, I would have been pulling my hair that week. It was a lot of 13 or 14 hour days, a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts and back and forth and this and that. And it was stressful, but, within that moment, I was like, okay, like this is what I wanted. And, it just kind of opens a threshold within you that, you've already experienced this and overcame it. So now, you can keep going. And seeing that early on, probably like 2.5, 3 months of being launched, I was like, okay, I made the right decision because if I can handle this, then I know I can handle a lot of other things that'll be thrown at me.
Do you have a specific story or example of how choosing your moving company has really helped people during a very stressful time in their life, where had they chosen another moving company, things might have gone differently?
Yeah, I do. This is a story that, I hold near to my heart. Helping a woman move her father into hospice. He was just too old. He couldn't, he just couldn't care for himself anymore. Great family, great guy. And she had came down from North Carolina and was, dealing with all the arrangements. And we just stood outside and I just talked to her, asked about 2 or 3 questions that spiraled into, 25 minutes and, her being emotional. Obviously, it's a very heavy situation. And, her just saying that she hadn't had a chance to express, the feeling of moving your elderly father into a home. And that's kind of of like a thing that, you know, a mover, you kind of run into a lot as in personal situations. And then, you know, just on the back end, her husband reached out and said, you know, hey, we really appreciate you just being there and being able to talk. And I have a lot of stories like that, you know, that's just one of them. But, you know, because a lot of times we get caught up in the swing of things in our day, and we fail to realize that if you just take, you know, 45 seconds sometimes, you can really help somebody out. You know, just look external. Don't think about, oh, well, I've got to do this in 8 minutes. It's like if you take, you know, 30 more seconds to speak with somebody, that's not going to change your arrival time of 12:04 or 12:05, you know, so just really slowing down.
A lot of times people move and buy a house or sell a house, the numbers like 80% of the time based on a life event, you know, and a lot of those life events are positive. You know, they've worked for 30 years and they finally get to retire and they're moving to the South Carolina Lowcountry and they're super excited. But sometimes people are selling houses because of negative events. You know, they're going through a divorce, or somebody passed away, or they lost their job, or, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. And so as real estate agents, you know, we have to be able to sort of understand that and have a lot of compassion for people in those situations. And you're kind of in the same boat too, because you're having to work with them during sometimes really happy, exciting times, but sometimes not so happy and not so exciting. All right, so we're almost to the end. I've got a couple more questions and then I'll let you get back to work. Somebody that's thinking about moving to the South Carolina Lowcountry, or anywhere for that matter, maybe this will be helpful to anyone. When should they start thinking about their moving company?
I think that after you make the decision to move, I think the next decision that you should make is, you know, your moving company, because there's so much that goes into it, especially depending on the size of your house or location, whatnot. I think, you know, 3 months is a good time to just get a jump on everything, because it's going to be questions that just come out of, you know, nowhere that you didn't even know that you needed to get answered. And I'd say 3 months is a fair time to get started on finding a moving company.
Okay. And then last question, what is one misconception that people have about the moving industry that you'd like to clear up? Or maybe it's actually something that's true about the moving industry that you don't do.
You know, I really can't say, because I've worked hand in hand with a lot of other companies, and I've seen a lot of the negative stereotypes be true. You know, I've seen a lot of positives as well. I really can't say. I'd say just, you know, do your due diligence when you're trying to find a company. You know, ask the questions. If they seem to be hesitant or, you know, don't want to really talk to you, then, you know, I don't think you should really want to talk to them.
What would be like the top 3 or 4 questions that they should ask a moving company?
How do they charge? Definitely. That's one. Do they charge for drive time or mileage? I'd say those two. Let's see another one. Maybe charge for materials. And I'm giving y'all some like really like behind the scenes stuff. Like there might be a few movers that are like,
this is a hack.
Yeah, and those questions might not even tell you anything, but they're indicative of, you know, the type of people that you're working with, because, you know, those are questions that are going to lead to more questions or, you know, more than one answer. So, you know, if you ask that, you know, you charge for drive time or, you know, per mile, and, you know, if you get a 2-minute answer, 2.5-minute answer, then that means that you've got a good guy. You know, if you got a guy that just, oh, hit your drive time. It's like, you know, you might want to, because that's something you have to elaborate on more. So, yeah, you know.
All right. So if this person right here is watching right now and they want to speak with you, they want to get in touch with you, where do people find you?
You can find me at my website, trmovingservices.com, or 843-812-7456. Call or text, or email me at tyler@trmovingservices.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the channel today. And I'm extremely excited to see as your career progresses. I know you're going to be a leader in the community. I can sense that, and just excited to see you grow as a man and a businessman, and I know you'll be taking great care of people. So thanks again for being on.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for staying till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed meeting Tyler, and I hope you enjoyed learning the ins and outs of the moving industry. I think you're going to like Tyler if you do decide to call him. I think he's a great guy. I think he's doing a great job. And of course, if I can help you find your own Lowcountry lifestyle, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can always book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. I hope to meet you in person at some point, but if not, I hope to at least see you on the next video.